Costco US has just released the new Sennheiser Sonite Rise hearing aids, and they look suspiciously similar to the Phonak Infinio. So are they the bargain of the year, or is there a catch? Well, the answer isn't as simple as yes or no, because whilst the spec sheet looks very familiar, and there are definitely similarities with hearing aids from Sennheiser's parent company Sonova, these are not identical. And the differences are exactly what could determine whether you should buy them or avoid them. So today I'll break down what's new with this tech, what's changed from the Sonite R, how close they really are to the Phonak Infinio hearing aids, and the exact type of person who should and shouldn't buy them. For context, I run one of the largest independent hearing clinics in the UK, and because we work with all hearing aid brands daily, I get to see what actually works in real life. And so if you're keen on staying up to date with the latest news in the hearing technology world, then make sure you subscribe by pressing this button somewhere down here. Now, I recently put out this poll on YouTube and I was quite intrigued by the results, so I wanted to extend this question to you watching this video today. So would you, yes, you watching my video right now, would you buy hearing aids from Costco if they used major technology from a major manufacturer? Did that make sense? If they used technology from a major manufacturer, but with some features removed? Or would you prefer to get the best of the best? Let me know in the comments beneath today's video. And so without further ado, today I have 7 updates, yes, 7 updates for you that you need to know before buying the Sennheiser Sonite Rise hearing aids from Costco. Have you ever noticed that every time Costco releases a brand new hearing aid, these same questions appear in the comments on my videos, on the HearingTracker forum, or on Reddit? Which premium hearing aid is this technology secretly based on? Well, Sennheiser's consumer division is owned by Sonova, and Sonova is the parent company behind both Phonak and Unitron. Plus, they already had a very colourful history with Costco, not long ago, with the Kirkland Signature 10 hearing aids, before they were discontinued in 2022. Now, if you watched my video launching the Sonite Rs, which was the predecessor to the Sonite Rises that I'm talking about today, you'll remember that I felt that the original model looked most similar to a stripped-down version of the Phonak Lumity originally released in 2022. And with this new technology today, Sennheiser are describing the Sonite Rise as using AI smart sound, trained with 18 times more sound environments than the previous generation, adapting 24% more precisely to listening situations, with the new feature stack including the likes of Sennheiser's Speech Manager, their Speech Boost, their Narrow Speech Focus 2.0, their Dynamic Noise Manager, Motion Sense, Noise Manager, and Binaural Sync. So there's a lot going on inside this technology. Now, from your perspective, that means that they're constantly trying to understand where you are, what's happening around you, and how they should process sound without you needing to constantly open up the app or fiddle with the settings. For example, they'll behave differently in a one-to-one conversation in a quiet room versus that same conversation in a restaurant. And they'll adapt to the likes of being in a car, when streaming music, and even, which is a feature I love, when you're walking outside, the motion sensors help the hearing aids to recognize that you're moving and adapt the microphone strategy accordingly. And this is the way that most hearing aids have been utilizing AI for a few generations of technology now. It's not about making things more complicated, quite the opposite in fact. It's about doing all of the hard work for you. So here's the thing. If the previous generation, if the previous Sennheiser was roughly based on the Phonak Lumity, then technically we've only seen one development from Phonak since then, which is the Infinio family of hearing aids. So the big question is the Sennheiser Sonite Rise basically a Phonak hearing aid? And if it is, which one is it? Well, my view is that the Sonite Rise looks more like a cousin to the Phonak Audio Infinio R rather than a close sibling. And yes, I'm sorry to tell you, I'm talking about the non-sphere version. Now, I have personally fitted hundreds and hundreds, it can't be thousands, surely not, but maybe, of the Phonak Infinio Ultra Sphere R hearing aids. However, only a handful of the non-sphere version. Why am I sharing this? Well, in reality, there is no comparison between the two. And in my opinion, the reason for the Infinio platform even existing is the dedicated deep sonic chip for deep neural network speech and noise processing. That was a mouthful. That comes in the Sphere version. And it doesn't look like there's any evidence that the Sonite Rise includes that dedicated Sphere chip. So if somebody tells you that this is basically the Phonak Infinio Sphere for $1,600, I don't think that's right. And the reason that I'm sharing this is because, yes, it looks like the AI in this tech is designed to make the best decision as to the setting that the hearing aid should be on based on your surroundings. However, if your biggest challenges are the likes of family gatherings, cocktail parties, restaurants or cafes, essentially anywhere with lots of competing background sound, then it may be worth you looking at the Phonak Infinio Ultrasphere instead, because that's where the dedicated deep sonic chip appears to separate it from the Sonite Rise. Of course, what's inside is important, but I think you'll be interested in what's happening on the outside too. Now, this new tech comes in a single model, a single style, which is a receiver in canal model. And this means that the body sits behind your ear with a thin wire transmitting energy and information to the speaker which sits inside your ear canal. It features the likes of the lithium-ion rechargeable battery, classic Bluetooth, which if you've watched this channel before, you'll know that it has its disadvantages and its advantages that I'll cover shortly. It has a multifunction button for adjusting the volume or programs, and there's a hydrophobic coating, making it one of the leading Costco hearing aids for robustness, carrying an IP68 rating, so they're designed to cope with normal, real-world life. I'm talking sweat, rain, dust, and gym sessions, but please don't take that as permission to go swimming wearing them. And then finally, there's a tap control feature, which with a double tap of your ear, you control streaming, answer calls, or trigger Siri or Google Assistant without having to dig your phone out of your pocket. In true Costco fashion, you don't get every color under the sun, but you do get the sensible ones, such as sand, sandalwood, silver gray, and velvet black. And if your hair doesn't match any of these colors, you can either embrace the contrast or go to aisle 7 in Costco and buy yourself some hair dye. Now, I've got to share with you that whilst most hearing aid manufacturers have at least one disposable battery option, Sennheiser are releasing this hearing aid in a rechargeable only model, which in my opinion is without question the future of hearing aid technology. And it means that there are also no compromises on features. So why do I say this? Well, rechargeable only designs often give manufacturers more freedom to include more power hungry features like Bluetooth streaming, motion sensors, and more advanced programming without having to worry about disposable battery drain in quite the same way. However, with disposable battery options, we often see certain features actually stripped out, but of course the manufacturers don't shout about that. I say all of this because rechargeability is one of those things that hearing aid users either love or for some reason deeply distrust. And I do understand both points of view on this, so yes, rechargeable hearing aids are convenient. There's no fiddling with tiny batteries or wrestling with the ridiculous packaging they come in nowadays, or no panicking when you realise you've forgotten to take your batteries with you, or walking around with the potential fear that they may run out on you at any point. Yet with disposable batteries, some patients report the feeling of reassurance at the same time, knowing that they've always got a spare battery in their pocket and not having to worry about carrying a charger on holiday with them. So on that note, in terms of performance with this rechargeable battery, Sennheiser state that the Sonite Rise offers up to 31 hours of hearing aid battery life, depending on battery condition, hearing loss, sound environment, streaming usage, and various other activated features. But I've looked into this a little bit deeper, and the technical datasheet states a more conservative expected operational time of around 20 hours, and I'd prefer to share that figure with you, the latter figure, with giving you a more realistic idea on how they're going to work. So let's say that they'll last you for a full day off a single 3-hour charge, which in my opinion is all you could ask for. On top of that, who knew I could talk about batteries for so long? I'm sure I've got far more exciting and interesting things to share with you. But on top of that, as standard, these hearing aids come with a charger with a built-in lithium-ion battery. And that will provide an extra 3 additional full charges to your hearing aids when they're fully charged. So if you go away for a weekend somewhere that you might not have access to power, so camping for example, you can charge on the go and carefree. Now this is the section that most hearing aid reviewers skip. In fact, I haven't seen any other videos covering the technical details to this level. So can you do me a favor in the comments? Comment yes in the comments. Comment yes in the comments. Comment yes in the comments if you think that this level of detail is a good idea, or no Matthew, shut up if not. The Sonite Rise is technically suitable for a wide range of hearing losses. So if your hearing loss falls within the grey shaded area on this graph, then they're technically suitable for you. Saying that, ensuring the best and most accurate tailored fit all depends on the skills of your hearing care provider. For example, Sennheiser lists 4 receiver options, the S, M, P and UP, which between them covers anything from a mild, moderate, severe or profound hearing loss, depending on the receiver and the coupling selected. In practical terms, the S receiver offers a maximum output of 112 dB SPL, up to 47 decibels of gain, and a frequency range between 100 to 10,000 Hz. The M receiver offers 114 dB SPL with 51 decibels of gain and with the same upper frequency range. The P receiver offers 122 dB SPL and 59 decibels of gain and a frequency range between 100 to 7,500 Hz. And then finally, the UP receiver offers 132 dB SPL with 71 decibels of gain and a frequency range between 100 Hz to 8,000 Hz. In all honesty, this isn't something that you should need to choose, as your hearing care provider should choose the most appropriate receiver based on your degree of hearing loss. However, I do think it's important that you're aware of it, as I cannot tell you how often I've seen the wrong receiver power selected and sat on the end of a patient's hearing aids, which means that even with brilliant hearing aids, you may not be getting enough power or clarity for your hearing loss, or you could even be getting too much, which can result in distortion, feedback, discomfort, or simply poor sound quality. And that's not just limited, I'm going to get on my high horse now, that's not just limited to the wrong receiver power either. There's also another important part of every hearing aid which is massively underestimated, the part that goes into your ear canal. With these hearing aids, there are multiple coupling options available, including vented domes, cap domes, open domes, power domes, slim tips, or seashells. And it is so important that the correct tip is chosen for the end of your hearing aid. Not just from a comfort perspective, but the right dome or custom tip can improve quality of sound, comfort, feedback, streaming quality, clarity, speech understanding and noise, and the overall sound quality, I guess, in general. And yes, in Costco, they do charge you extra for a custom tip. But if you need one, I am begging you, please don't look to save cash in this area. Please. The final standout area that I need to share with you today is around Sennheiser's connectivity, where I'm sad to report that Sennheiser have given with one hand and then they've taken with the other. Now, positively, the Sonite Rise compare with up to 8 Bluetooth devices with 2 simultaneously connected, which isn't possible with any other manufacturer, well, apart from Phonak and Unitron. So if you want to jump between devices, it's a bit of an ordeal, or most people find it easier to just stick with using the Bluetooth in their smartphone, missing out on streaming from the likes of your iPad, laptop, or PC as well. That's with other technology. The Bluetooth functionality also gives you access to the EasyLine remote app, which means that you can make adjustments to the volume, you can adjust your programs and other basic controls on these hearing aids. But if you really like getting into the weeds, you can adjust things like speech focus, noise settings, and the sound balance. And also, which I really like about these hearing aids, you can create your own personalized settings for the situations that you find the hardest. When it comes to streaming phone calls, they also support hands-free calls with both iOS and Android devices. And Sennheiser boasts that they've improved the stability of streaming, so it now works with twice the range of their previous generation. So, I said give with one hand and take with the other. What is missing? Well, versus other Costco offerings, yes, you can connect your phone with other Bluetooth devices, but you won't be able to utilize Auracast, as they're Auracast ready, but not Auracast live. Nor is there a built-in loop system. So my advice is pretty simple. If you want Bluetooth phone calls, app control, and streaming, then the Sonite Rise looks strong. However, if you're specifically in need of a telecoil, loop system, LE Audio, or Auracast public broadcast, make sure you weigh up the pros and the cons before going ahead with this technology. So the big question is, should you buy the new Costco Sennheiser Sonite Rise hearing aids? Well, here's the best way that you should think about it. You should have Sonite Rise on your shortlist if you are already a Costco member in the US. You want rechargeable hearing aids, you want a proper portable charger, you want Bluetooth streaming and hands-free phone calls, you want automatic sound processing that does not require constant manual adjustment, you have a relatively straightforward hearing loss, and you are happy with Costco's hearing care model. However, I would be more cautious if you're buying it because you think it's the Phonak Infinio Sphere. You specifically need confirmed Auracast or telecoil. You have very complex hearing needs. You need extensive tinnitus management. you are a musician with demanding music requirements, you want disposable batteries, or you know that you need a lot of individual clinic time, counseling, verification, and fine-tuning. Because Costco can offer incredible value, but it is not the same model as a specialist independent audiological clinic. This hearing aid really has gone totally under the radar, but fortunately for you, my hearing aid radar is set with military grade precision.
What is that?
Costco plus Starkey equals new hearing aids. There has been no official announcement, no fanfare, and no press release. But that's what I'm here for. So I've dug into every regulatory listing, PDF, and trademark sheet to figure out exactly what Costco are selling now. So buckle up, my faithful YouTube audience. You are in for a surprise today. Now, I want to kick off this video today with you, yes, you, sharing a little secret with me. Come here, come closer. I'm keen on knowing which manufacturer of hearing aid you're currently wearing, especially if it's from Costco. So can you do me a huge favour, a massive favour, and let me know in the comments if you're sporting either a Philips, Rexton, Jabra, Sennheiser, Kirkland Signature, or if you got your hands on these new SoundGear hearing aids. Also, while you're at it, let me know where you had them fitted to, so which Costco you had them fitted in. This will give me a great idea on which content to make for you guys watching going forwards. Thank you. So moving on to the main reason that you're all here today. This is the new SoundGear AMP family of hearing aids, which, as far as I'm aware, is the first Starkey-related platform in Costco ever. Prior to this announcement, SoundGear were well known for making electronic hearing protection, and I think that it's a pretty smart move for Starkey to venture into big box retail and join all other hearing aid manufacturers. As believe it or not, in the US alone, this is just in the US, Costco accounts for around 16% of all hearing aid sales, second only to the VA. So the big question is, which of Starkey's other hearing aid technology is this most comparable to? As Starkey have literally only months ago released their Omega AI hearing aids. And it would be wild if they're competing with themselves in this space with the same technology under a different label. Well, you may be disappointed to hear that they're not based on their latest technology, but are in fact only a single generation behind, and apparently share some of the features built into the Starkey Edge AI platform released in 2024, including the likes of their integrated chip with deep neural network processing to enhance speech understanding in noise. So yes, they are still pretty up-to-date AI integrated hearing aid technology. And whilst it isn't their flagship tech, it certainly isn't their entry-level model either. So there is no question that SoundGear are offering one of the most comprehensive families of hearing aids available in Costco, as the SoundGear AMP includes 3 different categories. Firstly, the Emric R, which is their rechargeable behind-the-ear style, which sports a lithium-ion rechargeable battery, full wireless functionality, motion sensors, and IP68 durability. Then we have the ITE and ITC rechargeable custom models, which are rechargeable custom shells featuring directional microphones, again with wireless streaming capabilities, and believe it or not, have a larger battery capacity than their Emric Rs. And finally, you will have access to their CIC, IIC, and RIC 312, all of which are disposable battery models, which yes are more discreet, but that can come at the cost of certain brilliant features. And when you sit down with your hearing care provider, they should run through which are specifically suitable for you, your hearing challenges, and your specific hearing loss. And this nicely leads me on to suitability. And the big question is, which of these hearing aids are technically suitable for you? Well, the receiver and canal models can be adjusted physically in 2 different ways to meet your hearing needs. Both the Emric R and the Emric 312 are compatible with a range of different powered receivers, meaning that your hearing care provider can physically change the power level to suit your specific hearing loss. In reality, this means that if you have a mild, moderate, severe, or profound hearing loss, they can technically be suitable for you. And so if your hearing loss falls within the shaded area on any of these graphs, then that's technically the most appropriate speaker level for your hearing loss. As well as changing the receiver, the way that these hearing aids are coupled to your ears can be personalized too, with a selection of medical grade silicone domes to choose from or various custom tips. Custom tips at Costco do come at an extra cost, but if you need them, please, I'm begging you, do not look to save the cash. They come in at something like an extra $40 per ear or so. I do want to put a bit of emphasis on this part of today's video, more than anything else that I'm covering today, weirdly. As believe it or not, the tip on the end of your hearing aid is incredibly important, and all too often, so often, I see hearing aid users lost in online forums or even in my clinic who've bought hearing aids elsewhere and they're begging to find out which is the most appropriate tip for them. And if that's you, I feel incredibly sorry for you, as that's the job of your hearing care professional, not you. The wrong tip can completely transform the way a hearing aid sounds, from how much clarity it provides, how well it copes in background noise, that's the holy grail for anyone with hearing loss, how good it sounds when you're streaming, and of course, comfort too. And I will always try and put a custom tip on as many ears as possible when they're appropriate. Hopefully, this will help you to ask the right questions regarding the configuration of your hearing aid dispenser's recommendations. So ask them about custom tips when you're having your hearing aid fitted. Moving on to the custom models, and again, there is a choice of receiver power which needs to be selected upon ordering these hearing aids. These are the fitting ranges for the ITE-R model. And then here we have the fitting range for the ITC-R model. This is the fitting range for the completely in-canal model. And then finally, the invisible in-canal model. So you can see that there is clearly an option to cater for most degrees of hearing loss out there. And like I said earlier, if you have a mild, moderate, severe or profound hearing loss, there's technically something within this family of hearing aids that may be suitable for you. So you'll also be delighted to hear that the majority of these hearing aids also have LE audio Bluetooth connectivity. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the advantages of connecting your hearing aid to your phone via Bluetooth, it has two key benefits. Firstly, it allows you to stream any audio from your phone to your hearing aids. So if you're taking a phone call, watching YouTube, listening to the radio, music, podcast, whatever it might be, the sound would wirelessly be transmitted from your phone to your hearing aids and personalized based on your hearing loss too. The second advantage is that you'll have access, I'm laughing because I've recorded this 20 times and I can't get it right, that you'll have access to the My SoundGear mobile app, which gives you access to a ton of features for you to adjust the settings on your hearing aids, such as adjusting the programs, volumes, accessing different features such as Edge Mode Plus, the Find My Hearing Aids features, and also simple things like checking your battery status. And, oh yes, they're also compatible, you'll be delighted to hear this, with your Apple Watch 2. Now, I'll do a complete breakdown of this app when I do a full review on these hearing aids in the future, so watch this space. Now, one key feature, which I've just mentioned, and I want to spend a little moment of time on, is their Edge Mode Plus, because this is where Starkey, and by extension SoundGear AMP, really lean into AI. At its core, Edge Mode Plus is an on-demand listening boost. So think of it like this. Most of the time, your hearing aid should be doing a great job adapting to the environment around you as they see necessary. But every now and then, you might need to walk, or you might walk into an environment where things suddenly get a little bit more difficult, such as a noisy restaurant, busy meeting, or a social gathering where voices are coming at you from all directions. Well, SoundGear AMP are claiming that this is exactly where the Edge Mode Plus comes into play. And with the tap of your hearing aids, a button press, or activation in the app, the SoundGear amps will use the onboard neural processing unit to analyze the sound environment around you in real time and then temporarily apply a more aggressive strategy, increasing speech clarity, reducing background noise, and adjusting the microphone directionality to focus more strongly on speech. Now, I have to stress that Edge Mode Plus isn't designed to be on all the time, and that's deliberate. It's a situational tool, not a permanent setting. Once the moment passes, the hearing aids will return to your normal program, and in my opinion, if you're going to look at buying these hearing aids, this will be the reason why. Now guys, I'm going to let you down, and it isn't all rosy, but I've got to tell you, for reasons which Costco haven't shared, these hearing aids are only available to start off with in 100 of the 600 Costco US warehouses, and at the moment there is still no published list of which ones you can get them from. If your Costco does end up stocking them, I would love to hear from you. So could you drop me a note in the comments beneath this video so that the Costco fans out there all have access to this information. Okay, so Jabra are back with their new Enhance Pro 30s, available exclusively in Costco US. And in all honesty, I don't know why more people aren't talking about them. In my opinion, the Enhance Pro 20s, which were their 2023 model, left some room for improvement. So it's exciting to see that there is a brand new design, there is a new sound, and a whole host of new features for improved speech understanding in background noise. But also, there's a new price. We'll get there. The big question is, what are Philips, Sennheiser or Rexton going to do now that Jabra have superseded their Enhance Pro 20s with not one, but two new fully loaded hearing aids? These things are AI powered, they are Auracast ready, and one of the smallest hearing aids currently on the market. First of all, we have the RIE13, which features a multifunction button and uses a size 13 disposable battery that you'll need to change roughly once a week. Secondly, there's the Micro RIE, which Jabra are boasting is the world's smallest hearing aid featuring artificial intelligence. It sports a push button rather than the multifunction button that we see on the disposable battery version, and houses a lithium-ion rechargeable battery, providing up to 30 hours of battery life per charge, which is a 25% improvement in battery life versus the Enhance Pro 20s. You'll notice that there's still a typical receiver and canal style of hearing aid, meaning that the hearing aid itself sits behind your ear with a thin wire sending information and energy down to the speaker, which sits inside your ear canal. Now, I know that there'll be a small percentage of you today that are watching this video interested in knowing about custom-made versions of these hearing aids, so an in-the-ear version. But I have to say, to date, there is currently no word on the release of one. And if history is anything to go by, then it's pretty unlikely too. Saying that, I do personally try to encourage as many patients as possible that certainly come through my doors to opt for a receiver and canal style over an in-the-ear style. Very simply put, because it will give you access to far more features when you go with a behind-the-ear hearing aid, which we'll come on to shortly. As far as physical developments go, the microphones have also had a redesign, which realistically isn't going to be that big in terms of improving the sound, but should have a positive impact in terms of robustness, meaning that the new microphone covers will prevent debris ingress and can be changed by you at home or in clinic, rather than needing to be sent back to Jabra HQ if there's a fault with them. And of course, I am all for anything that makes your experience with hearing aids far more seamless. I've got a couple more physical developments that are worth running through now, and then I'll run through some of Jabra's new features. So, the charger. Well, the charger is a beast. It's great, but in my opinion, it still needs a little bit of work. As I mentioned earlier, a single charge will give you a full 30 hours of battery life, which is reduced to around 25 hours if you utilize the streaming features, which I'll come on to in more detail later on in today's video. As you would hope, Costco provide these hearing aids with the premium portable charger, meaning that it has a built-in lithium-ion battery, which is great if you're away from home and don't always want to worry about having access to a power source. There is a downside to this though, and it may just be me being picky, but it is heavy, it's huge, and for its sole purpose being travel, it's not really built with travel in mind. And I think the Jabra are missing a trick in my opinion, and there will definitely be a market for a charger with an extra day of charge, not necessarily 3 to 5, and it could be built a lot smaller in that case. Just something to bear in mind if there's anybody from Jabra HQ watching who could have an influence on this. Now, normally Costco are pretty limited in terms of colours, so I'm pleased to share on this occasion that you have the option of sparkling silver, sand, bronze and deep black to choose from. Each option is matted so they don't tend to catch the light, and I would recommend that you go for something that matches your hair colour, as it will be far more discreet. Now, for those of you that haven't watched my videos before, just to give you an idea of the format of my videos, this video today is a launch video sharing everything that there is to know so far about this brand new technology. But I'm pretty unique in this space, in the YouTube space, in the fact that you won't see a detailed review from me until they've been in a few patients' ears and I can offer legitimate feedback other than my own opinion and the opinion of the manufacturers. So if you want to see the detailed version of this video, then you'll find the subscribe button somewhere down here. And so it's worth a press if you want to be notified as soon as the detailed version is released. Saying that, there is still masses of content to cover today. So here's a list of the features built into both of these new models. And you'll recognize some old and some new, like the likes of the 17 channels of warp compression, DFS Ultra 3, and a host of noise reduction settings. More importantly, you will see that there are some major differences, other than the battery power, between the Micro RIE and the RIE13, and these are around the tap control and noise reduction and speech understanding features. So make sure that you talk to your hearing aid dispenser about which is the most appropriate for you. If you want my opinion, I would personally go for the rechargeable option every single time. Now, in all technology, that's not just hearing aids now, there are limits to the computational power of a single chip. And so what do you do if you hit that limit? Well, Jabra have followed the likes of Resound and Phonak, and they've added a second chip, introducing their first dual chip architecture, which means that this new technology is 17 times more efficient than the Enhance Pro 20s and achieves a whopping 4.9 trillion operations per day, which is 12 zeros in case you were wondering. So the first chip, the 360 chip, features what Jabra describe as the industry's most accurate real-time environmental classification system, which constantly scans your environment and adjusts itself to your specific listening situation. So in reality, the hearing aids activate the right features at the right time. And if you think about it, it's really what you want from a hearing aid that knows if you're in noise, quiet, watching the television, etc., etc. And then running on top of the 360 chip, acting as a filter to create a greater contrast between unwanted noise and speech, Jabra have their deep neural network, which is a form of artificial intelligence. Now, Jabra are utilizing this DNN, which has been trained using 13 million sentences and 3.9 million sound parameters, may I add, to power multiple new features, all aimed around better speech understanding in background noise. The holy grail for anybody out there with hearing loss. Now, they're calling their AI noise reduction feature Intelligent Focus. Their directional beamforming feature is called Clear Focus, which is their unique feature, which is designed to enhance speech in front of you. And then finally, their 360 all-round feature, which is designed specifically to maintain your spatial awareness, which for any of you non-techie folks out there means it's aiming to keep you connected with the sounds in the world around you, whilst simultaneously ensuring that they're just not that bit too much intrusive, so they don't have too much of a negative impact in you hearing the person that's in front of you. So, I think it's safe to say that we've seen a huge amount of developments over their predecessors. I know they sound great, but the big question is, are these hearing aids suitable for you? Yes, as long as you have a hearing care provider that knows how to get the best out of them. What I mean by that is they'll need to be physically adjusted in 2 different ways to be able to meet your needs. Of course, that's on top of adjusting them acoustically. Both the Micro RIE and the RIE13 are compatible with a range of different receivers, meaning that your hearing care provider can physically change the power level to suit your hearing loss. In reality, this means that whether you have a mild, moderate, severe, or profound hearing loss, they could technically be suitable for you. So if your hearing loss falls within the grey shaded area of any of these graphs, then that's technically the most appropriate speaker for you and your hearing loss. As well as changing the power of that receiver, the way that the hearing aids are coupled to your ears can be personalized too, with a selection of medical grade silicone domes to choose from or various custom tips. Custom tips do come in at an extra cost in Costco, but if you need them, please, I'm begging you, do not look to save the cash. It's something like $40 per ear off the top of my head. Now I'm saying this because I want to put a bit of emphasis on this part of today's video more than anything else that I'm covering today. As believe it or not, the tip on the end of your hearing aid is incredibly important, and all too often I see hearing aid users lost in online forums looking for guidance on the most appropriate tip for them. And if that's you, I feel incredibly sorry for you, as that's the job of your hearing care professional, not you. The wrong tip can completely transform the way that your hearing aid sounds, from how much clarity it provides, how well it copes in background noise, how good it sounds when you're streaming, for example, and also comfort. And I will always try, personally, to put a custom tip on as many people's ears as possible, well, as many hearing aid users' ears as possible when they're appropriate. Hopefully, by empowering you with this information, this will get you to ask the right questions regarding your configuration when you go to see your hearing aid dispenser. Yes, you can believe your eyes. You did indeed, and you should see here somewhere, Auracast on that list of features built into the Enhance Pro 30s. But I guess you're tired of me talking about it in all of my other videos now, and I'm tired of talking about it too. Because whilst every manufacturer is boasting that they've built it into their latest technology, yes, that's you, Oticon, Philips, Starkey, Widex, Signia, Rexton, Sennheiser, Phonak, or anybody else that I've missed, Jabra are the only manufacturers, along with Resound, to have actually rolled it out. And it works. I'm not joking. I've used it. I've even got an Auracast transmitter built into our clinic, which means that the brand new Auracast Assistant, which is built into the Jabra Enhance Pro app, lets you share and switch between broadcast audio streams with a very simple press of a button. Meaning that if you want to tune into an airport announcement, a museum presentation, or even a concert, this will be easier than ever. So if you want to try Auracast technology out, come and visit me in clinic. Auracast works alongside the regular phone connectivity that we saw in the Enhance Pro 20s. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the advantages of connecting your phone to your hearing aids, this is via Bluetooth, it's worth knowing about the two main bonuses, the two main benefits, let's say. So firstly, it allows you to stream any audio from your phone to your hearing aid. So if you're taking a phone call, watching me on YouTube, or listening to the radio, music, or a podcast, the sound will be wirelessly sent from your phone to your hearing aids, and of course taking into account your hearing test results too. The second advantage is that you'll have access to the Jabra Enhance Pro app, which gives you access to a ton of features which have been inherited from their previous model. And I'm talking about the sound enhancer, tinnitus manager, the check my fit feature, to the live assist and remote fine tuning, all of which I'll cover in great detail in my full review of these hearing aids down the line. Price wise, these are available in Costco for $1,699.99, which is $100 dearer than the Enhance Pro 20s and should be available in all Costco's from May 2024.
Why are you here today? I mean, don't get me wrong, I am delighted that you are, so please don't disappear over to Dr. Cliff's channel now, but I'm really keen on knowing what made you click on today's video. Is it because you're wearing the Rexton Reach hearing aids and you want to know what my thoughts are? Is it because you're not, but you're really keen and interested in buying them? Or is it because you've heard that they're the latest offering in Costco and you want to know my opinion on them? If your reason, yes, if your reason for being here today is any of the above, then you're in the right place. As Rexton's newest family of hearing aids, the Reach, was released in February 2024. And as of July, you'll find them in Costco US for an incredibly affordable price. Meaning that if you head through those big old Costco warehouse doors, you'll now have the choice between the Philips HearLink 9040s, the Jabra Enhance Pro 20s, and now the Rexton Reach. So today I'll give you a full review on these little powerhouses, plus the lowdown on their improvements over and above Rexton's previous hearing aid tech, the Bicors. For those of you that don't know already, Rexton hearing aid technology is built by WSA, who are the same manufacturers that make both Widex and Signia hearing aids, so have a strong presence in the hearing technology world. I've been very interested to see the results of a recent poll that I put out there on YouTube, asking those of you that wear Costco fitted hearing aids which brand you're wearing. And these were the results. And they're very obvious, and I'm keen on knowing about you watching me today. Yes, you. Firstly, I would love for you to share with me which make of hearing aid you're wearing, plus why you chose that particular make. Drop me a note in the comments beneath today's video, as this will help me to focus my attention on the videos that you want going forwards. So the big question is, why am I so delighted that Rexton have updated their hearing aid technology to these, the new Reach hearing aids? Well, the thing is, yes, the Bicors were strong hearing aids and they had a few unique standout features, such as their dual processor technology, My Voice 2.0 and their Sound Pro 2.0, all aiming at better hearing in noise, but they weren't without their issues, with quite a few patients reporting the likes of Bluetooth connectivity issues, some reporting that their custom programs were disappearing from the app, and then there was the occasional inconsistency report with their reliability. So the big question is, what have Rexton done to resolve all of these issues? Well, they've built the Reaches, haven't they? And they've listened to the feedback from both you guys watching and your audiologists. And it appears that they've addressed some of the technical shortcomings of the Bicore by developing some new advanced features. And in my opinion, provided a more reliable, user-friendly, and higher performing hearing aid. So I'll start today by taking you on a physical tour of them, and then I'll delve into what's going on inside. At the time of making this video, the Rexton Reach is technically available in two different models. We have the Rexton RLIT and the Inox CIC Li. However, if you're planning on having them fitted in Costco, then you'll only have access to the RLIT receiver and canal model. So this is where I'll be focusing all of my attention today. Out of the two, incidentally, it's the most feature-packed, supporting rechargeable lithium-ion batteries, which gives an unbelievable wear time of up to 39 hours without streaming. And then it's still, even with 5 hours of streaming, 34 hours, which I'm pretty sure is an industry record that's currently only rivaled by Signia. And then the T represents the fact that it has a built-in telecoil, which, if you're not familiar with the benefits of a telecoil, I will run through the details later on in today's video. Taking you on a physical tour of these hearing aids, you'll notice the unit that sits behind the ear, which is fully enclosed with no battery to change. There's a rocker switch on the back, which is essentially a soft key and has a few functions, such as increasing or decreasing the volume, activating different programs, plus, you can even answer or hang up phone calls with it. These hearing aids have directional microphones, so you'll notice here we have the rear-facing microphones, and here are the ports for the forward-facing microphones. And then finally, the receiver wire, which feeds energy and information to the speaker, which sits inside your ear. Now, these hearing aids can be customized for you by changing the tip on the end, and Rexton have a selection of medical-grade silicone tips to choose from, ranging from open, closed, or power sleeves, depending on your hearing loss and also the shape and size of your ear canals. Now, while I'm on the subject of customization and personalization, one thing that I think is often overlooked is having custom tips made for the end of many users' hearing aids. And in my clinic, I tend to add them to as many hearing aids as possible when they're suitable. So, the big question is, why am I talking about this small yet very important part of the hearing aid so much? Well, believe it or not, the sound of your hearing aid will be completely transformed by changing the tip on the end of it. For example, it can affect both the clarity and sharpness that your hearing aid provides. It can affect how full and rich it sounds, how good it sounds when you're streaming from your phone or your TV, and most importantly, how well it copes in background noise. It's really easy to think that the tip is just about comfort, but it is way more important than most people realize, and I include audiologists within that as well. And it's really down to the expertise of your hearing care provider to recommend the most appropriate setup for you. I would encourage any of you watching this video today to ask your audiologist whether a custom tip is appropriate for you when they're recommending the best setup for your hearing loss and for your audiological profile. As far as colors go now, I am delighted to say that Costco normally tends to be pretty limited with their supply of colors. But in this case, I'm pleased that they've managed to persuade Rexton to provide their new hearing aids in a range of different colors. Starting off with rose gold, dark champagne, sandy brown, and then finally black. Most patients that I tend to see in clinic tend to match the color of their hair, so there should be something out there for all of you watching this video today. Now, I'm pretty sure that's everything that I wanted to mention from a physical point of view. So now we'll do a deep dive into what's going on inside these hearing aids, starting off with sound quality. However, before I do, you'll be pretty surprised to hear that 75% of the people that are watching my videos haven't yet hit the subscribe button. So if I can ask a huge favor of you today, if you've ever enjoyed my videos, then please press that subscribe button. It helps me out way more than I can say and helps me to grow the channel. And the bigger the channel gets, the better my videos will get too. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of today's video. As I mentioned earlier today, one unique feature to Rexton is the use of dual processors for improved speech clarity in the presence of background noise, which they now call multi-track processing. And I have to admit, I am a big fan of this, with its ability to process environmental sounds such as background noise separately from speech. This multi-voice processing is interwoven with their brand new multi-voice focus feature. And I'll put up on screen now an example of how this works exactly. This feature utilizes 4 focus beams to scan your environment 1,000 times per second, adapting to the changing dynamics of group conversations, and ensuring that the hearing aids are focusing on the person that you want to hear, making speech clear and recognizable, even amidst the presence of background noise. Rexton boasts that this feature constantly adapts to the changing dynamics of a conversation, boosting the prominence of those in the group who are speaking whilst keeping track of those who aren't, all without switching modes or delaying. And then when the hearing aids identify a person speaking in your near field, quite cleverly, their voice stabilizer feature kicks in, which adjusts the compression individually for each of those 4 directional beams. And Rexton are boasting that the hearing aids will then apply the appropriate compression and noise reduction for that specific person, making it easier to distinguish speech from the background noise that's going on around you. Of course, this all sounds wonderful, right? But does it work? Well, Rexton have made this impressive demo for me to include in today's video, which has been filmed in their lab's spatial sound room, which, by the way, is like heaven for me. It has 45 built-in loudspeakers that can mimic various listening situations, and this next clip is a demo from a food truck at an amusement park, which is loud, annoying, and tough to hear with sounds coming from all directions, creating a lively but particularly challenging listening environment, especially for somebody that's wearing hearing aids.
As you can hear, there are many different sounds coming from everywhere. Sounds really fun in here. So let's bring in more fun and more people to the scene to make it even harder. Hello.
Hi there.
Good to see you here.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm loving this festival.
Good to hear.
Yeah,
So
having a great
much fun.
time.
Yeah, there's so much going on.
Good experience, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Lots
many
of
things
fun.
going on.
Yeah. And actually, I'm getting hungry.
Oh, so am I.
Yes.
Can you smell the good food?
Yes.
So many good smells. Yeah.
So much good stuff.
Exactly.
I'm kind of up for dessert though.
Oh, yeah, you're going straight to dessert. I like that. I like that.
So that's without the multifocus program set up. If we then enable the multifocus program, this is the difference in the sound.
Let's give it a go. So I heard food, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really up for it now.
Yeah,
Let's
but
do it.
maybe we should visit the taco food truck first.
Taco and look.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I like.
and then waffles.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
For
Alright,
sure, we need some
That's
dessert,
okay.
right?
Yeah,
Let's
I like
do
that
it.
idea. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Do we have a plan?
So what do you think? Did you hear any improvement whatsoever? In my opinion, this results in sharper and clearer hearing in the presence of background noise than we've ever seen from any of Rexton's previous technology. But that's only one feature, or that's only a few features, sorry. There are other things that Rexton have improved in this new technology too. It's pretty standard now for most hearing aids to have built-in Bluetooth, but what you might not be aware of is that the type of Bluetooth varies depending on the hearing aid that it's in. Well, I'm delighted to announce that Rexton have joined the likes of Jabra, Resound, Signia, and Oticon and included the latest version of LE audio into these new hearing aids, which I'm pretty sure is going to change your guys' listening experiences forever. And believe me, I do not say this lightly. In short, you'll see an improvement in the Bluetooth capabilities with your phone when it comes to sound quality and battery consumption. And that's whether you're listening to phone calls, the radio, music, or podcasts, all whilst keeping your phone in your pocket, giving you a truly hands-free experience. But that's not all. Where this tech will really take off is in a public venue with a built-in Auracast transmitter. This new form of transmitter is specifically designed to work with newer LE audio technology and will send any signal to your hearing aids, such as if you walk into a football stadium and want to hear the commentary, or if you walk into a train station and want to hear the train announcements, or even if you go to a museum and you want to hear the tour guide with perfect clarity and distinction, being streamed directly to both of your hearing aids. Over the next few years, it's likely that we'll see public venues installing these Auracast transmitters, and Auracast broadcasted audio will replace the century-old loop systems that are now built into public venues. This allows for multiple hearing aid users to simultaneously connect to audio in public spaces, all with this massive improvement in sound quality and significantly lower battery consumption. And you've got to trust me on this one, this is going to be an absolute game changer. Not for just those of you out there wearing hearing aids, but this will be built into headphones too. Now, something worth noting is that whilst the Reachers have got this built into their hearing aids, it hasn't yet been activated. Now, this will all be done in the future with a very simple and free firmware update in clinic with your audiologist. Does this really matter at the moment? No, because there are no public venues that yet have these Auracast transmitters. But what I will say is make sure you subscribe to this channel, because as soon as Rexton announces the update, I will publish it right here, as you will then need to head over to your audiologist to have that update performed to the hearing aids. As I mentioned earlier today, the Reach also sports a telecoil, which some manufacturers are getting rid of now. And I think this is a correct move from Rexton, because until Auracast streaming becomes mainstream, you'll still be able to connect to public venue streaming services in the likes of churches, theatres, etc., etc. In fact, anywhere where you see this sign. Now, I'm pleased that Rexton have recognized this potential lag between rolling out LE Audio and it being installed in public venues, and are still giving you access to both of these types of streaming technology in the interim. Reading between the lines now, this also tells me that Rexton aren't expecting Auracast to be implemented at any point in the near future. Now, you'll also be delighted to know that these hearing aids live up to the industry standard of an IP68 rating. And this means that they can technically be submerged in 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes and they should still function afterwards. Now, I'm definitely not suggesting going swimming wearing them, but this rating should ensure less breakdowns and more reliability. And let's face it, you want to be able to forget that you're wearing them and not have to shield them every time you go anywhere near water. Similarly to all other Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids, Rexton also have their own, and this allows you to make adjustments to the settings on your hearing aids, giving you better controls than having to press the buttons on the back of your hearing aids, or having to go back to see your audiologist every time you want changes to be made. Comparing the Rexton app to other hearing aid manufacturers' apps, it is pretty basic, but it gives you access to the standard adjustments that you might want, such as volume, boosting the bass or treble, and then changing programs. It does, however, have two unique features to WSA. The first, which allows you to change the direction of the microphones, manually pointing them forwards, backwards, left, or right, which can be useful if you want to override the automatic settings, especially in a noisy environment. And then secondly, they have their speech boost, or mask mode, which boosts speech for people wearing masks, behind plexiglass, or even if they're just softly spoken. And then finally is their Rexton Assist, which is Rexton's use of AI in their hearing aids. This is pretty clever because it allows you to communicate with the app, and you can adjust the settings of your voice, background noise, and other preferences directly by communicating with the app and typing the issues that you've got. The app will then make appropriate adjustments based on your individual requests that other people around the world have made too. Rexton have also been great at recognizing where hearing aid technology alone will struggle to overcome hearing challenges, and as a result they have a range of accessories such as the Smart Mic, which is a remote microphone which, when handed to somebody, they can move up to 25 meters away, and their sound of their voice will be streamed directly to your hearing aids. The Smart Transmitter 2.4 streams the sound of your TV directly to both of your ears and is a great addition to your toolbox if you're having trouble listening to the television. And then finally, Rexton have their Smart Key, which, if you don't have a smartphone, allows you to adjust the settings on your hearing aids without having to press the button on the back. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this technology somewhere before. Any ideas now? Well, today I'm announcing the imminent launch of the new Philips HearLink 50 hearing aids. So stick around to learn about their new features, when you can get your hands on them, plus if they're suitable for you and your hearing loss. One of the world's largest hearing aid manufacturers, the Demont Group, who are well known for brands such as Oticon, Bernafon, and Sonic hearing aids, recently announced the release of the new Oticon Intent. This new hearing aid technology is on a brand new chip and is fully loaded with new technology, and this includes the likes of artificial intelligence, LE audio Bluetooth, motion sensors, and a ton of new features over and above their previous hearing aids, the Oticon Reels. Now, those of you out there with a keen eye may well have noticed something ever so slightly similar between the subject of today's video, the Philips HearLink 50, and the Oticon Intent. And that's because they share the same physical appearance and also some of the same technological developments inside. And I imagine that a fair number of you today will have been drawn to this video knowing that Costco US has a relationship with Demont, selling their Philips branded hearing aids. In fact, in a recent poll that I put out there on the HearingTracker YouTube channel, around 25% of you watching this channel purchased your hearing aids from Costco, which means that it's likely that you'll be wearing either the Jabra Enhance Pro 20s or the Philips 9030 or 9040 family of hearing aids, and are probably keen on knowing if or indeed when the HearLink 9050s will be coming to Costco. Well, stick around as I'll share with you the details on when I think they're coming to Costco later on in today's video. Out of curiosity, I would love to know where you purchase your current set of hearing aids. Yes, you watching today. So was it at Costco? Was it at an independent audiology practice? Or perhaps it was at a chain such as Beltone or Connect Hearing? Or maybe via your ENT or the VA? Let me know in the comments beneath this video. Now, the HearLink 50s supersede the HearLink 40 family of hearing aids, which consists of a wide range of hearing aids from the HearLink MiniRite TR, which is the receiver in canal rechargeable version with a built-in telecoil, the MiniRite T, which uses a 312 disposable battery that needs changing roughly once every 5 to 10 days, their MiniRite, which is their smallest receiver in canal disposable battery hearing aid, but is missing the telecoil. And then we have their behind-the-ear hearing aids, the Mini BTE TR, which is Philips rechargeable BTE, and the Mini BTE T, which again uses a size 312 battery. And then finally, Philips have their BTE PP, which is their power behind-the-ear hearing aid. So let's you and I cover a couple of different things together today. Firstly, I'll run through this brand new Philips hearing aid design, and then we'll take a good look at what's going on inside this hearing aid technology. Now, before I start, I just need to put a warning out there so that you don't make the same mistake that I did when you start researching this hearing aid. You have to be very careful when researching the Philips 9050 hearing aids, as at first glance, one could argue that they almost look like an iron. I experienced mass confusion when reviewing the features to find steam boosts, detachable water tanks, and a record-breaking 7.5 bars of pressure, only to realize that these hearing aids share their same model numbers with other tech from Philips. So one of my first pleas today goes out to the Philips marketing department. Please work harder on your product names. So looking at the hearing aid version of the HearLink 50 series, you'll see that there have indeed been some physical changes compared with the HearLink 40 here on the left. The new design is indeed a little shorter, which I'm sure most of you will welcome if discretion is important to you. However, at the same time, it is also a fraction bulkier. Now, this does concern me a little about how they'll feel when sat on your ear, especially if they're competing for space with anybody wearing glasses. It is interesting that they've chosen a different approach to all other hearing aid manufacturers who have developed longer and narrower hearing aids, such as the new WideX Smart Rick, the Signia Stiletto, and then the Phonak Slim. Whereas the Demont Group seem to have gone with this shorter and fatter style. You'll notice in the redesign that Philips have also replaced the rocker switch with a single push button. I personally think that this is a bit of a mistake, as patients do generally tend to like a rocker switch due to its flexibility. So for me, it's a little bit of a step backwards. And whilst the buttons on hearing aids aren't as important as they used to be, because now everything can be done on the app, there are still plenty of my patients that like the flexibility to be able to use both. As far as the colors go, Philips have yet to publish any information on the colors available. However, if they're anything like the 40 series, it's likely that we'll see 6 different colors, from beige, black, brown, dark grey, grey, and taupe. All the colors are matted nowadays, so they don't tend to catch the light, and normally patients tend to opt for a color that matches their hair for maximum discretion. So that's the physical developments taken care of, which in my opinion is indeed a worthwhile change, as this model of hearing aid from Philips has looked the same for a couple of generations now. However, if we start to look at what's going on inside these hearing aids, this is where it gets even more interesting. As far as suitability goes, these images show the fitting ranges for the Philips HearLink 50. So if your hearing loss falls within this shaded area, then they're technically suitable for you, with the receivers being interchangeable between either a 60, 85, 100 or 105 decibel power level. Therefore, if you have either a mild, moderate, severe or profound hearing loss, they can be adapted to suit your needs, which is something that your audiologist will recommend for you depending on your specific hearing test results. As with all manufacturers of hearing aids, these are also available in various technology levels, from the 9050s, 7050s, 5050s, and the 3050s, with the former being the most advanced of all of them. Now, yes, the chip in these hearing aids is brand new, and yes, these hearing aids do have the same features that we saw in the HearLink 40s, but Philips have built on those as a foundation and added to them, starting with their SoundMap 3 feature. In the HearLink 40s, we saw the introduction of SoundMap 2 Plus, which is essentially the brain of these hearing aids, aiming at controlling background noise with the assistance of artificial intelligence. Philips are promising that SoundMap 3 will provide their best ever speech understanding in background noise, with artificial intelligence beginning to dominate the hearing aid space now as we're seeing various hearing aid manufacturers using it. SoundMap as a feature in itself has evolved over the last few generations with a few key developments. First of all, starting with extending the number of frequency bands from 16 to 24. Now, from your perspective, more frequency bands allows for an improvement in speech separation from noise, which in turn results in a greater noise reduction across frequency bands to efficiently clean speech signals in noise, utilizing their artificial intelligence noise reduction system. The next addition was their Sound Protect feature, which was introduced into the HearLink 9040s and preserves speech when it's in the presence of wind, handling, and transient noise. And then finally, the key development within SoundMap 3, so from today's hearing aids, is Sound Guide, which is all possible due to the new embedded accelerometers built within these hearing aids, which not only detect head movements by measuring changes in velocity over time, but also even understands whether the speed of movement is brief or constant. What is this? Now, if you're wondering why on earth your hearing aids may want to measure the movement of your head, Philips aren't the first company to introduce accelerometers into their hearing aids. In fact, they're actually pretty late to the party, so following the likes of ReSound, Starkey, Phonak, and of course now Oticon, and as a result, this Sound Guide feature is one of my favorite new pieces of technology built into these hearing aids. Sound Guide not only monitors your environment like previous Philips hearing aids, but also utilizes the information from these accelerometers and analyzes both your head and body movement. Philips are stating that this information is then fed into the automated directionality and artificial intelligence noise reduction systems, producing and delivering the optimal sound based on your specific listening situations. Now, whilst this does sound a little bit complicated, ultimately, from your point of view, it should mean that these hearing aids will improve your hearing in more complicated listening situations, such as busy restaurants, for example. There are some pretty wild claims coming from Philips, so let's hope that it works. As far as connectivity goes, Philips have also completely overhauled how their hearing aid tech interacts with other technology. And their SoundTie 3 feature refers to the HearLink 50's ability to connect with either Android or iOS smartphones, allowing for the streaming of either phone calls or media, such as music, the radio, or podcasts, directly from your phone to your hearing aids. This essentially allows them to act as a wireless set of headphones, but of course they're way better than that, because they also take into account your hearing loss too, giving you the appropriate sound to compensate for your individual and specific hearing loss. Now, this in itself isn't actually anything new. However, the big change comes with the introduction of LE audio. For those of you that haven't come across LE audio, it's a brand new Bluetooth protocol, not limited to hearing aids, but in my opinion is going to change the face of the entire planet when it comes to hearing in public places and just general wireless connectivity. In the future, you'll be able to walk into concert halls, conferences, train stations and lectures, and the sound of whoever is speaking will be directly sent to both of your hearing aids, all with the click of a button. I happen to know that all hearing aid manufacturers are working together to have this installed in their up-and-coming hearing aids. And now from today's update, this means that both ReSound, Signia, Oticon, and Philips will now give you access to LE audio on their latest technology. In my opinion, this means that in the next few years, we'll start to see Auracast audio replace the century-old loop systems built into public venues, which is actually regulation now, and will allow for multiple hearing aid users to simultaneously connect to audio in those public spaces, all with an improvement in sound quality and significantly lower battery consumption. Now, there is a downside, and that's that at the moment, this is only useful when they've started to install these transmitters, and it's not really common practice yet. So I do think that it will be quite some time before we start to see this tech taking off. Now, moving on to their rechargeability updates, we've recently seen some big advances from the likes of Signia, Widex, and Starkey with their rechargeability, with battery capacities increasing to over 30 hours on a single charge. And whilst Philips have made improvements to their rechargeability, they've taken a slightly different approach now. By increasing the size of their battery, a single charge will now only take 2 hours rather than the 3 that we've seen in previous technology from them. And if you fall asleep on the sofa one night and forget to put them on charge, the next morning you can supercharge them for 15 minutes, which will give you 4 hours of usage. Or if you can make that 30 minutes, they'll last for 8 hours in total. And also, with this battery development, Philips are pretty confident that there should be an improvement in their longevity too, with the batteries in these hearing aids lasting up to 4 to 5 years. Now, of course, the other big question that pops into my head is why have they not brought out a disposable battery version? Phonak made the same mistake with their Lumity hearing aids and have only recently brought out the 312 disposable battery version. According to a recent HearingTracker YouTube poll, around 33% of hearing aid users prefer disposable batteries over rechargeable hearing aids. So my concern is Philips have potentially alienated a third of the people watching this video now. Now, I do indeed have my suspicions as to why this may be, and it's actually pretty concerning. Phonak also use motion sensors in their hearing aids, but they're only available in the rechargeable version due to the battery power that's needed to get this technology to work. If this new Philips technology is the same, and their major development in these hearing aids is the sound guide feature, which uses those accelerometers, does that potentially mean that this feature will be stripped away from a disposable version of the HearLink 50 series? I'll keep you posted on this subject as soon as they start to roll out the rest of the family of these hearing aids, and I know a little bit more information. I would love to know in the comments in this video, would that stop you from buying them? Are you personally a disposable hearing aid battery user, or do you use rechargeable batteries? Now for the information that you've all been waiting for. Will, and more importantly, when will these hearing aids be available in Costco? Well, if history is anything to go by, the Oticon More was released in January 2021, and its Philips counterpart arrived in Costco later on that year. Then we saw the release of the Oticon Real in March 2023, followed by the release of the Philips 9040 into Costco in April 2023. So, if the Demont Group continue along the same trend, having seen the release of the Oticon Intent on the 27th of February this year, 2024, it's possible that the Philips HearLink 9050s will be hitting Costco shelves within the next few weeks. As soon as I know any more, you'll be the first to find out, so subscribe to stay updated.